And, talking about the playoffs, we're going to move on to the NCAA playoffs. And, I think NCAA should take a bite off the NFL when it comes to playoffs, because the NCAA system right now is completely broken, in my opinion. I think this year really highlights it, too, where you have, the top 4 teams getting in. And I know that's an improvement from the past, where you only had the top 2 teams getting in by the polls, which, the polls were untrustworthy when we were just getting those top 2 teams. Sometimes you would get a traditional, real good number 1 team playing a number 2, but sometimes you would have a team sneak in there based off of maybe strength of schedule or whatever it may be, with the endless amount of things that went into the numbers there as far as that for 1 and 2. But now they've expanded it to top 4, and I think that was a great play. It was a nice addition, but I think even now you're seeing that that's just not enough. It's not enough teams. I think you need to expand that to at least 8 teams for the NCAA playoffs. So you got 130 teams in the football bowl series. So with 130 teams and you're only giving 4 teams the chance to play for the championship, I just don't think that's a good thing. So I would like to see an expanded playoff system with 8 teams getting in, the top 8 teams, where you'd see a team like Texas A&M now, being the 5th seed, getting a chance to play for a national championship. And I think they had a great season. I think they do deserve a chance to play for that national championship. They did a great job of, controlling their COVID numbers in their program, which I think was a huge thing this year, where you look at some other teams or some other leagues like the Big Ten, with Ohio State only being able to play 6 games because they were afraid of COVID protocols, which I completely understand. But it's tough to see a 6-win team get in, and you got Texas A&M, who I believe played a 10-game schedule, and got through a 10-game schedule in the COVID era, which is impossible, really. So I think I'd like to see an expanded playoff schedule. What do you think about that, Pat?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I mean, you look at Ohio State, too. Some folks are bashing Ohio State, but Michigan dropped out of the game, that their annual rivalry game, and that's the game that they could have had 6 games in the regular season. I think 8 teams is exactly what you need. I don't think it should be any bigger than that, but I think 8 teams is perfect. What you could actually do is you could take the 5 power conferences, and each champion in the 5 power conferences gets in. Then you have 3 at-large bids, right? So you might have a year where an Alabama is undefeated. They go to the SEC championship game. They lose to an Auburn or to an LSU. But because, they're still highly rated, they would still get into the playoffs. So that one game didn't determine their entire season. Then you could also have a Coastal Carolina, a Cincinnati, a team that's not part of the Power 5, but is either undefeated or has been a highly ranked team throughout the season, also get in. And when you have 8, you only have one more round. So you do the round of 8, the round of 4, then the national championship game. And the NCAA and conferences will love this. They're going to make more money. You have more playoff games.
No, they love that.
They're gonna be all sponsored by all these crazy advertising. The commercials are going to be crazy, like they always are in these playoff games. The NCAA and these conferences are going to make more money. And it's sort of during a time where it's in between semesters in colleges as well. So I think the players can do it. I know it's one more week. There's always been this sentiment that this is during the holidays. This is during times where players got to go see their families and coaches and so forth. A lot of these colleges are already playing during the holidays. And now with COVID, especially this year, they can't go home for the holidays anyway. So I think players would give up going home for Christmas if they knew they were going to be in the NCAA playoffs with that expanded 8-team playoff in college football.
Yeah, no, I think it would be huge. I think it just benefits everybody. Like you said, it benefits the schools. It benefits the players. I think you would get to see, which I think fans have wanted to see in the past, a team like a Coastal Carolina get to play for the championship, or a team like UCF a couple of years ago that ran the table and went undefeated. They would have had a chance to get in there and play for the championship. But I will say this, and I know this will be a hot take, especially if you're from Coastal Carolina or UCF. Those teams will get smashed. They will get smashed when they enter the playoffs. But the fans will get to see that that's why a team like Coastal Carolina that doesn't really play a modified schedule is like the SEC and will face an Alabama and will just get embarrassed. So, you know, I'd like to see an expanded playoff system. And I think what the one you just said is amazing with the 5 and then the 3 expanded roles as far as the outliers getting in. But I mean, like I said, I think if you get a Coastal Carolina team in there, maybe at the 8 seed having to play a number 1 seed Alabama, I think we will get to see that the difference in play when it comes to a school like Alabama and a school like Coastal Carolina. But hey, that's just
no question. Absolutely. I do think if you do have a Coastal Carolina get in there, they're the 8. You have an Alabama who's undefeated. They win the SEC. They're the 1. That you are sort of rewarding the number 1 team to try to be the number 1 team in the country by saying, okay, you're number 1. You get to play a Coastal. You get to play the 8 seed. And it's, you know, hopefully it's not a walk in the park for those teams, but it is a slightly easier game than having to play. You know, one year it could be an LSU or it could be a Big Ten team that's tough against a team like Alabama. So sure. I think they should, either way, I think they should expand it to 8 teams in NCAA football.